Hi guys, hello and welcome to Samosa Talks. We're back with another edition of the new normal series, and this time we are discussing a very interesting space, which is which has unlocked with the lockdown. Lifted. I have with me Arvind from McDonald's India. He's the director marketing and communications at McDonald's India. I have
Hi.
Bhagyashree who heads marketing and communication at Dineout India. And then I have Indrajit who's the global marketing director for Rebel Foods India. And Rebel Foods has uh, a plethora of umbrella brands like Pasos and Slay Coffee and stuff like that. You must have come across a lot of those brands. So, guys, welcome to Samosa Talks once again. I hope you guys are having a good time and you're at home at this point in time. So, I will quickly dive into the subject today, and I want to understand from your perspective, and that is something which I start every new normal panel discussion here. Is like how do you define the new normal as a professional and like for the specific industry you're catering to, and probably you could share some insights, some fun facts of the new normal, because it's quite an overused word, but I think the more we talk about it, the more we understand the gravity of the new normal. So probably, Arvind, we could start with you.
Sure. I think the new normal is defined in different ways. Looks like the new normal is kind of an omnibus term, right? And different people kind of interpret it differently. Uh, for me, it's where, as a professional, I would say largely the personal life and the professional life increasingly gets blurred, right? Weekdays and weekends get blurred, and while you're working from home and you're adapting to working from home, I think it's very tough for anyone to say that they have mastered working from home, if especially if they are used to working from an office for like me 20 years. So that adaptation, while it's taking its own time and we are finding our feet, so there is a blurring of weekday, weekends, and personal, professional, and definitely there are pros and cons to it. A simple, pro to this is the saving of the commute time, and so on and so forth. So I would say that's for me. That's the definition of new normal. uh, I'm sure there are modes like anxiety, etc., which many people feel, but I'm sure they will pass, right? The other aspect of new normal is, I would say, the embracing of the whole digital ecosystem, right? While many of us have been avid users of digital, but I see a lot more adoption of digital, especially among older age groups who we would thought belong to the analog age, but they're aggressively adopting digital age, be it news, be it e-commerce for grocery, be it even doctor consultations, which are happening online. So I would say for me, these two are headline grabbing for the past 3 4 months.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that like this at home services are on a rise with the new normal. Uh, we'll quickly check with Bhagyashree. Bhagyashree, how do you define the new normal, and what is it that you have observed in the past 180 days or so?
Thank you, Ritesh, for having me here, first of all, and I'm glad to be here with Arvind and Indrajit. I think for the new normal, right, especially in the restaurant space, the F&B sector, it's an industry that thrives on social gatherings. Now, you tell an industry that thrives on social gatherings, ki no, go back, stay home, no, like practice social distancing, no more going out. I think that's been the biggest turning point for this industry. And I definitely feel like, digital and technology plays the biggest role here. We've seen that, we, all of us are working from home, but imagine the 7.3 million people who are employed in the F&B industry, right? How do they work from home? They can't move their kitchens to their homes, and that's not possible. So, which is where I feel the new normal is all about digitization and technology. We've seen an incredible rise of QR codes in restaurants. That's something that we only saw at payment related industries and more to do with your mobile phones, etc. But I'm seeing a lot of QR codes at restaurants, and I think that's the big future of F&B industry, which at least we at Dineout have been trying to do for the past 5 years. We've been trying to make restaurants be tech enabled, and that was something that we were trying to normalize, and that is the new normal now. So I think that's perfect.
Sure. And Indrajit, like, how do you define the new normal?
Okay, so on a personal note, new normal, I realized that we are in this new normal phase when my mom took to TikTok. Her friends anymore, so they formed a tiny little group, and they would be engaged with each other through TikTok videos. And I was like, wow, my mom is on phone using it for so many different purposes. That was the time it actually hit me that wow, it's like completely changing the way, the psyche of really, like, not the, the younger people who usually adapt to technology and the digital first approaches very quickly, but even like the say in business terms, the laggards who actually like are comfortable with their lifestyles but are now getting agitated and want to do new. Another moment when I realized that this is the new normal was, you have these weekly meetings, and Arvind put it really right. Like when weekends and the weekdays are merging, and you have these weekly meetings and update meetings. And for two stretched weekly meetings, we were like, yeah, so this is one point that we will take care of once the lockdown uplifts. And that's when one person like just put his foot down and said that there is no, we will take care of this later. This is gonna be the new normal, guys. Please let's have updates coming in when like the way it is, because there's nothing changing. This is how it's gonna be. And that was a hard hitting one. So professionally, that is when like I realized, hi, zamana badal gaya. Um, uh, on a funny note, I'm sure like there was a time when our mom used to tell us, I mean, don't be talking to the strangers, like when you go out. But now it's become like, don't be eating from strangers. I mean, we started trusting only the the brands which have been either there since a while, or the brands which talk about all of their safety features, like hand wash, this, that, all the important nonetheless stuff. And the trust factor has just become so strong beyond comprehension. I mean, I won't talk about how fortunate we were. Like, we don't have storefronts, right? So we have never relied on the concept of people coming together in restaurants and like bonding. We have always been a part of food missions where people call their friends over to houses and bond together. So that had obviously paused in the middle, but now that's back. So that is great. We didn't face the, unfortunately, I would say, because I would like to believe we are still a part of the bigger food we didn't have to face the big travail which most of the hospitality and F&B industry had to face, which was like like lockdown, complete storefront is shutting down, business going down. But yeah, that's be like even we had to face the struggles of faith. Influencers became like celebrities. क्या आप हमारा खाना खाना चाहोगे and would you like to talk about it? नहीं नहीं भाई, नहीं करना है, दिल्ली में मैंने सुना है क्या हो रहा है. So all these things have been really new. Like the way you build a community has completely changed. So yeah, I would say this is completely what summarizes to be like a new normal for me, from my perspective.
Got it. And like, speaking of the industry you guys represent, like we have an interesting mix today. We have someone like McDonald's, which is like a quick service restaurant, and then I have Rebel Foods, which is like a chain of cloud kitchens, and then there is Dineout, which is more of an experience brand which facilitates experiences for people dining out. And like all of you in the past 6 months, like as brands, you've communicated responsibly in the sense that people should stay at home, they should stay safe, they should practice social distancing and like step out only if it's needed. And now that lockdown restrictions are lifted, how is it that you guys are changing gears? Like, and what are the things you've observed in your consumers' behavior? Like for me, like I was telling pre-chat while before going live to Bhagyashree, I've not stepped out of my house for 180 days. I've not ordered anything, any food from outside. But I'm sure there are a lot of people who are doing that. So I want to understand, what is it that you've seen, like what kind of changes you've seen in your specific consumers' behaviors over this period of like 6 months, and you can like break it down into probably March, April, what was happening, April, May, June, how things were, and now when we are in September, how do you see things? So probably Bhagyashree, you could start, and then Arvind could join.
Sure. I think there's been a major shift in priorities from the consumer, right? Initially, when a user would think of going out, the user would A, think of, do I like this restaurant? How often, how popular is this restaurant? And B, is the discount, right? Now people are looking for the safety tags. Now people are looking at, is there a contactless experience that I can get at this restaurant? What is my safety a priority for this restaurant when I go out? So I think that's a very big shift in consumer behavior that we have observed, and which is why the implementation of QR codes and the adoption of digital payments. In fact, we recently did a release wherein 80% of the payments that we've observed ever since the lifting of the lockdown has happened have been digital. So people are definitely choosing more technology-driven platforms and more mobile-first. They want to do everything with their mobile phone, right? That's the kind of service that users are looking at. Secondly, I think brand value has definitely taken the front seat. As marketers, I think each one of us has struggled with this question of marketing se ROI kitna aega, ye batao. Somehow that question has now moved to, is my brand loved? Do people recognize me? I think that's what plays a very important role, especially for Dineout when the initial few months during the lockdown, like we had zero business. We literally told people to stay home, dine out later. And I think that resonated with people, right? We connected with them. It was very important that you stay relevant as a brand. What we also noticed were a couple of behavioral changes, right? People got onto new habits. People started cooking at home. That was a very big hit that I think all of us fell prey to at least once. And that's when we did Top Home Chefs. We gratified users to come back to our platform and share the recipes, how they were recreating dining experiences at home. I think that was the key game changer during this entire duration. Staying relevant, increasing your brand value and brand recall. How do you stay connected with your audience when you do not have anything to say? I think that is something that most marketers faced as a challenge. And I think the key thing that at least we've tried to maintain is your customer insight. We stay very, very, very close to customer insights. We avoid anything that's done to death. I think my team resonates with this term more frequently with me. Like if there's an idea that's already done before, you do not do it. And the third thing is about convenience, right? Convenience is the top trigger. We saw Dunzo of the world becoming really popular and high adoption in the mobile space. How do you make the most of these key insights, key consumer changes, and make your brand adapt with its services to be relevant in these times so that at the end of the day, what goes around comes around. If right now you're during the lockdown, we didn't have our audience coming to the restaurants, don't worry, they're going to come back. So that's something that you keep your focus as and keep hitting the insight where it fits the best.
Got it. And Arvind, like Bhagyashree was mentioning about, like there was a time when the business had hit zero. I'm sure it would have done for your brands as well. So I want to understand, how did you, as a marketer in that position, help the brand scale from zero to what it is today in this time frame of about 6 months? And what are some of the key behavioral changes you spotted in your consumer specifically? Yeah.
Sure. So I think this experience has been quite instructive. and it has made all of us marketeers quite humble. And it has challenged virtually every single assumption or hypothesis we would make in the pre-COVID world and get on with marketing work, right? So it's been quite instructive for me and my team. And but two or three things I kind of helped build the narrative and evolve the narrative. I think the first is different sets of consumers. Let's say consumer segments have different levels of cautiousness in this context. I think it's very difficult to understand that, and it's very important to understand that. So it's not just the pre-COVID world. Your best offer, your best product will do the job, right? But that has a big risk of being appearing tone deaf in the current circumstances. So understanding that the level of cautiousness among consumers, the tone of the communication has to be gentle, and there are some customers who would like to believe that it's almost normal. There are some customers who would like to believe that it's far from being normal, right? And there's a continuum there, very important to kind of understand that. Now, where this is important is the whole communication gambit, right? So at one end, for customers who think that it's very close to normal, communication like what's your favorite product, right? Your Mekalu Tikki or Maharaja Mac, your McSpicy, that works, right? Then there's a whole set of customers who believe that normalcy is a long way off, right? And you have to persuade them to order their favorite McDonald's burger, right? So for them, I would say, and Bhagyashree put it very nicely, brand affinity, right? It's a true test of brand affinity and brand trust, I would say. So how can we really make sure those kind of communication happens, where you're showing them the practices in the supply chain, within the restaurants, even during delivery, the whole contactless delivery experience, right? To reassure them that we are doing the right thing by you. We are quite cognizant these are extraordinary circumstances, and we are doing ABC to kind of for enable you to still access your favorites, right? So that I think is very important. So while brand trust is important, so I would say is brand affinity. I think that's a true test of brands in the next 1 or 2 years. Brands have to work very hard, and we are doubling down on our brand affinity work. It appears a bit counterintuitive under the current circumstances. Very tempting to do the usual tactics of offer, product, and so on and so forth. But I think this is the time to do long-term work, because whatever is happening in India, at least, is here to stay for some time. And we consumers and brands have to adjust to the new normal. It's not a temporary 3 month, 6 month, right? So brand trust, brand affinity, and convenience. And Hitesh, you asked, right? How did you adjust your tactics to recover as fast as you can? So very quickly we realized that unlike pre-COVID, convenience or delivery, for example, will form the bulk of the business going forward. So we readjusted the investments, right? Focused it on delivery, partnered very well, very closely with our more closely than pre-COVID with our partners like a Swiggy, Zomato, and so on, and also partners like Dineout. So partnership has taken a new dimension for us, right? And how do we kind of make that happen in the new normal, rather than go back to the traditional tactics of mass media? So I think once we readjusted the focus on digital and through the funnel marketing, we saw better response for our campaigns, and we have been able to see much better traction in the last 60-80 days compared to, let's say, a March.
So, like, if I have to ask, and like, that is something Indrajit you could also answer while you are answering, that like you've seen a spike, or I won't say a spike, but have you seen the numbers you might be doing same time last year, or the numbers which you guys see in terms of transactions or orders is like a significant percentage dip, like you see a very significant percent dip, or you see like it's at par with what you were doing last year as well?
Yeah, so being cloud kitchens, as I said, we didn't have to completely shut down. Obviously, like there were locations, and plus food was we being from the manufacturing side of things, food was marked as an essential, right, during lockdown.
Right.
So we in the initial phase, yeah, we reached around say 40% of pre-COVID sales, but now we are back to like say 80. What was
Okay.
interesting is a few of our other parallel activities really fructified. So we had launched businesses in Dubai and in Indonesia, which are actually doing better than last year. I mean, and we recently again launched in London also. So all in all, we are in the in the good direction. Um, uh, very base level में speaking, I think as marketeers or like as businessmen, like this is like that 1 week before exams wala feeling for a long time. Pata nahi kya hone wala hai. So even the last bencher and the first bencher will sit together to figure out हम क्या पढ़ेंगे, and that's what has happened. That's exactly the new dimension of partnership that has come in, where like say all our partners wanted to like figure out new ways of reaching out, making business work. Even and when you're handling like say around 4 5 different brands which are at a good life cycle when it comes to the consumer's mind and which adhere to different consumer missions, then you have to also think differently, still go with this whole perfectly said Arvind humility aspect. Like the empathy needs to ooze out, like not that you force it in, it actually has to come out. You don't have any other ways. I mean, if I have to put all our patrons in this graph of say survival and 1% to people staying in a big ass family. All our brands and all our missions come in different spaces, right? I mean, there were people who were stuck in the lockdown. They couldn't go to their families. They needed to eat. They couldn't have their maid come over. There were also people who, like stopped renting their apartment and went back to their families. And they were getting tired of cooking every day. And they had to order, say, once in a while. So there were these various, say, learnings that we had, and empathy was the strongest driving is still the strongest driving factor in all these cases. The kind of menu offering and everything that we had to design right from scratch was to understand this intent. I mean, the same industry which was driven by menu pricing and discounting, suddenly not looking at any of those things kind of changes your rule book tremendously. And uh, while I think in some way we have been fortunate that like you can change the rule book for some brands and see how it's working and maybe try that formula in another brand, because like there's Behrouz biryani, which is no, which a person like none of our consumers are driven by Behrouz biryani because of the pricing, right? I mean, it's not that we are ever gonna give a Behrouz biryani for say $100. So the people over there. But for example, a brand like Oven Story, which was very much one of those youth centric brands, we had to take a hard call and decide that rather than making it all about offers and discounts and everything, let's talk about the product. Let's talk about the fact that like our cheese is completely not mixed with mayo, like what you're eating is really really genuinely good. So like that kind of deep diving has been really amazing. And yeah, I think unknowingly we were getting ready for this in a way. I mean, as Arvind also said, even Bhagyashree said, like most of the brands are switching to like delivery only platforms and digitally marketing themselves, and that is exactly what we had been doing since a while. So that wasn't the major shock. The major shock for us was how to ensure that our people are safe. I mean, you have around 1,500 restaurants listed on all the distribution platforms. You have around 300 odd kitchens across the country. Each kitchen houses around say 15 20 people, right, to like make the different food. But you have to keep them safe. So that's where you want to take a conscious decision that these guys need to stick with you. The others will definitely stick with you. We saw them sticking by. As I said, we didn't go down to complete level zero. So the decisions we took were very different this time. They were fun actually. I mean, much prouder feeling in a certain way. I'm sure everyone would concur. But they involved a lot of unlearning at the end of the day. And yes, it has fructified in the right direction.
Right. And like all three of you mentioned the importance of uh, building on brand trust, or like growing your brand's affinity. How important do you think at this point also, like not important actually, but like how do you guys tackle this challenge of ensuring that the food that is being served through your kitchens or the experiences you are facilitating are as safe for the consumers as they were, and like are safest to the best of uh, are the safest in that sense. And this is something I'm getting in from comments as well, that how do you guys address safety, like the safety concerns of the consumers out there, like apart from the 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 information that you share around contactless experiences, or uh, like probably the safety checks which you might have done. Other than that, how have you tried to address this creatively as a challenge?
So, may I go first? I'm sorry.
Yeah, please, please.
Yeah, yeah. We have kind of imbibed our own philosophy in these lockdown times, like not just as marketing teams, but as Rebel Foods, we kind of have imbibed in us this new philosophy, which we call the Eat Show philosophy. Um, uh, we have kind of fragmented. We did a lot of FGDs, a lot of conversations with our consumers and so on, and we realized there are four aspects which kind of uh, define a safe, healthy relationship between the guys eating your food and the guys making the food, and that would be people, the process, the ingredients, and the packaging. So if I say people, from the House of Rebel Foods and from any distribution channel, it doesn't matter. Like you can order from Zomato, Swiggy, from our own platforms, from wherever. Every bill which is sent out gives a list of all the kitchen people who were in the kitchen when your food was made with their temperature. We have also gone one more level ahead, and we do weekly to sometimes even bi-weekly medical checkups with certified doctors, where they do like a session that we are having, a similar session, asking every staff member, how are you feeling? Are you feeling dizziness? Any kind of signs of not just COVID, but any kind of signs of deteriorating health, any kind of psychological anxieties and all. So all our staff are technically medically certified, if you may say. We do proper medical certification of even the kitchens on a weekly basis. So that's me coming down to the process part, where every food is passed through like we are planning how to like this is something we piloted. Now we'll be like going out where all our food is passed through UV chambers, all disinfected, and only then it is given to like the delivery partners. So we are extra careful about these things. We are even uh, trying our hands in futuristic stuff, and there are a lot of pilots going on. We'll figure out what will work. Ingredients is another thing. So we have taken a complete like no added say colors or flavors, no preservatives in any food. This is something that we are taking very consciously. The produce kind of defines the relationship in the longer end, right? I mean, when you want to even market your product, I mean, if your produce is strong, everything else kind of takes care of itself, because you have nothing to hide. So that is how we are like ensuring that all our ingredients are top notch, high grade quality. And finally comes the packaging. I think contactless delivery is one thing. Like obviously our delivery partners and the guys we partner with, they're wearing their gloves, they are wearing their masks, they are dropping the package at a certain place from where you feel as a consumer comfortable enough to pick it up. But I mean, we are also experimenting different kinds of designs for the packaging, so that like before you open it you can sanitize your hands and so on, because at the end of the day the proof of pudding lies in the eating, if you may say. So at the end of the day, you want to always have your hands sanitized before you open the package. And that's what we are trying to do with all these four aspects, and finally the each process. Um, It's being received very well. We actually are getting great love for this. I mean, we can already see numbers improving in terms of retention. But more so, as I will keep repeating, this has been uh, not easy yet superbly satisfying. Like setting such strong protocols in the midst of like challenging supply chain behaviors all over the country, challenging commerce behaviors all over the country, challenging consumer anxiety all over the country. So it hasn't been an easy decision, but it has been a very satisfying decision.
Got it. And like while Indrajit was talking, Bhagyashree, I realized that probably there is, like, of all the challenges we discuss around safety and the concerns which people have with food consumption at this point, the the upside to this situation is that our food hygiene levels might have improved like multifolds, and like there is so much checks which are being put across restaurant brands and across kitchens. So what are some of the other opportunities you've seen apart from the challenges as a marketer in a COVID or a post COVID world?
Okay. So I'll tell you for dine out, right? Like, uh, I think there have been a lot of confusion and misinformation specific to food during COVID, right?
Yeah.
And I think Arvind and Indrajit both will agree with me. COVID does not spread with food, period. It's not,
Yeah.
it just does not. There were people saying chicken mat khao. There were people saying bahar se khana mat khao and things like that. I think with safety, right, another very big aspect to what Indrajit was mentioning is the convenience factor, right, to audience. Like when you will go out to the restaurant, would you think twice before touching that menu? You will think कितने लोगों ने इसको छुआ है पहले. Before giving that filling that feedback form also at the restaurant, you'll be like, I don't know how many people touched this pen. I don't know, did somebody chew this pen before I touched it? So there are a lot of these small customer touch points, which some people are very finicky about, especially the people who have OCD. While some may have a second thought about it, some people may not care. But the beauty of this whole thing is that today you can have an Uber-like experience at restaurants. This is something that so Dineout has two aspects to our business, right? One is the B2C and one is the B2B, which is Inresto. With Inresto, what we've been trying to do is we've been trying to educate our restaurant partners to adopt technology solutions, get on the digital menus. I'm sure Arvind and Indrajit agree. They have combo offerings at their specific restaurants. With the help of digitization of menus, you can instantly customize these things for the customer, right? All the things that you used to do on a one-on-one basis at a physical restaurant, you can do it at the touch of your phone. Use your phone for everything. That's something I think that we at Dineout have been promoting very aggressively, along with Safe to Eat Out. And adding to the challenges and the opportunity bit, right? We also saw this big trend where at least the restaurants which did not open up had popular chefs like the likes of Pooja Dhingra and a couple of other popular chefs also. They started making food at home and selling it through their Instagram channels. Now, not every chef and not every restaurant has that kind of influence or does not have that kind of clout. Which is where WhatsApp and Instagram integrations come in handy, right? We took the liberty of creating this integration opportunity for our restaurant partners because not all restaurants can afford this. WhatsApp integration, Instagram integration, it's a pain, quite honestly. Which is why we created this facility and we provided it to our restaurant partners so that it's easy for them to be able to enable whether it's takeaway, delivery, and in the future even dining out. Because I'll tell you, the one thing that people miss doing is going out, and the biggest form of leisure in the immediate phase is going to be dining out because your theaters are not opening, your travel's not opening anytime soon. So how do people actually be entertained or get that form of leisure? So I think dining out industry is definitely going to bounce back because it's all about the experiences. No, food is enjoyed best when it's served to you with love, and you get the whole experience of celebration and pampering. which definitely like delivery and takeaways do solve for the purpose of convenience. But at the end of the day, the experience is not the same, whether you make food at home or whether you deliver. It's dining out which will help people feel a little close to normal again.
Right, I'm sorry, I dropped out for a bit. Like speaking of like how consumers have been reacting to the whole unlock situation. Arvind, can you tell us how, like, what is the kind of uh, transactions or the kind of orders you like are clocking in as McDonald's at this point in time? Like, even in percentages, if you can give us a number, just to have a sense of what is the consumer sentiment out there. And at the same time, if you could share your thoughts on some of the opportunities you've spotted as a marketer. Like, one of the things you were talking about was through the funnel marketing, and someone in comments also was asking more about that. So if you could share some insights on that, please.
Sure, sure. I think, like we know, different markets are at different stages of lockdown or unlock, as we call it. So the markets which have been open for some time, where all channels have been open for some time, like a Gujarat or let's say a Bangalore or a Hyderabad, we have been seeing that delivery have started to grow beyond the pre-COVID levels, right? And that's been very encouraging for us, which is also one of the, it's a result of our doubling down on delivery, so to say, and partnering very closely with digital. So delivery exceeding pre-COVID levels in the markets which have been open have been quite encouraging. Of course, in markets like Maharashtra, a very key market for us, which remains in lockdown, the pre-COVID numbers, we had to recover the pre-COVID numbers. This is still some distance, but one is very sure that as the unlock happens in key markets in Maharashtra, we would recover fast with our delivery and takeout focus. And this is also a moment of innovation, right? How can brands innovate and thrive in this new normal? So Hitesh, we launched what we are calling as a curbside pickup, where you can pre-order it on your app, your favorite Maharaja Mac on your app, and say that okay, you're landing there on this. This is your car number. You're coming there at this time. And you don't have to get out of the car. The food is delivered into your car, right? What we call as on the go. Now we have piloted it future. It's in extended pilot phase, and the consumers are taking to it like a fish to water, right? Obviously, it kind of meets their convenience requirements. It also meets their safety requirements. They don't have to get out of the car. They get to enjoy their favorites within the safety of their car, right? So that on-the-go feature has really helped us. And though it's a new feature, which means we're building it from ground up, it's a sign that as brands innovate on the convenience and safety paradigms, consumers will kind of love you back for that. So these are some ways in which we have been kind of recovering. And the complexity also is that the markets who have unlocked far earlier, let's say 3 months back, are at a different. They need different kinds of communication, right? And we have been seeing that, and thankfully, being digitally focused helps you cut markets by communication, right? So markets that are just recently unlocked or yet to unlock, safety communication is paramount, and the P1 communication, as we call it. But markets which have unlocked 3-4 months back, while safety communication remains important, but the favorites that they are craving, those also need to be communicated. So this is how we kind of are approaching market by market, and we are kind of so we just launched our new campaign, in fact, 2 weeks back. And the insight that we are kind of working on is many things have changed around us, but some things don't change, right? And some of those some things are you're craving for your favorite brands, and it hits on brand affinity, it hits on brand trust, which like we have been discussing are the two key hot buttons today to be working on. And coming to the full funnel marketing, it's something that we have been working on for quite a bit, but it assumes greater significance today. how through various tools and analytics, you are making sure that you are giving right top of the funnel investments, which and leveraging those top of the funnel investments through performance marketing and so on and so forth. At the same time, the importance of creatives through the funnel, right? What creatives are the creatives that are needed for top of the funnel are so different from middle funnel and from the bottom funnel, right? So being laser sharp as far as the creative approach is needed, I think is also very important. And we are also working with partners and digital partners, delivery partners, and working on their funnels with them, right? So that we can collaborate in terms of content and media, and make the whole engagement happen. And then finally CRM, right? Making sure, because one thing has got impacted, Hitesh, in this pandemic is the frequency of it out, right? So while volume has crashed, frequency has crashed even more.
Right.
And that's easy to understand because of the reluctance of customers to go out, right? So to build that frequency, you need a very strong CRM program. And that's also what we have been putting in place to kind of reach back to customers. And it's not just reaching back to customers with the next offer, right? Reassuring them. We launched something called what we call as a golden guarantee promise, which is inspired by our golden arches. So reaching out to customers on the golden guarantee promise is something that we think is very important for customer reassurance, that they have taken the right decision, they have accessed their favorites, and kind of we are waiting for them to reach out more. So those are some of the, I would say, the opportunities that we have been leveraging while coming back to pre-COVID numbers.
Got it. And like,
In fact, I think if I may, to Arvind's point, right, on the funnel, the marketing funnel, one interesting thing that we've noticed is that the customer funnel has actually flipped because of the fact that trust is playing, like, building trust in your audience and getting your customer back. It's the funnel, which initially actually started with awareness, consideration, to actually going to your evaluation and purchase, is now upside down with purchase first, therefore then your share of word of mouth and share of voice, which not only ensures repeat purchase but also new customers. So I think I agree with Arvind here. Like, your customer funnel has become really important, and I think every brand across sectors, whether it's F&B or the other segments also, customer retention is the biggest challenge that every marketer is facing today, and that's the one thing that everybody needs to solve for.
got it. So now we come to a very interesting part of this live session, wherein, like, we had introduced it during the lockdown, one of those sessions, and it was like a googly for the panelists. But this one's wherein each panelist gets to ask a question to the other panelist, and I take a back seat and I just see and observe the conversation that is happening. So probably we could start with you only, Bhagyashree. Who would you like to ask a question to, and like what would the question be?
I think because I think most of the points that I've talked about have been very technology driven, and it's a very good opportunity to have McDonald's and Rebel Foods, who are very technology first platforms, right? You guys have aced the SOPs in the F&B industry and focused so much on automation. What I want to understand from you guys is that while big brands can manage to adopt technology and create your own technology solutions, how do you think the smaller restaurants who are still suffering, right? Like, we're seeing a lot of restaurants closing down and being unable to sustain. What do you guys think the smaller restaurants should do in order to sustain and emerge back on the feet?
So, Bhagyashree, in my mind, this is a great opportunity for the unorganized market. I think largely you're referring to the unorganized market out there. It's a great opportunity, right? While it's a big challenge, the opportunity is to really step up their what we call in McDonald's language as QSC, quality, service, cleanliness, right? Those hygiene parameters, which are so important now. They were hygiene pre-COVID, But in this situation, they are no longer hygiene. They are something the customers actively are seeking out. Is this brand good on those parameters, right? So it's a great opportunity for them to revamp, and not only revamp, in real sense, but also communicate that to customers, right? So proof is in the pudding, right? So let's say there's a small restaurant out there, if you can put up a small program, how photographs, storytelling, customer testimonials, how it has really revamped and has stepped up his game as far as hygiene, safety, cleanliness goes. I think that's one thing, and it'll be great for customers, right? If their favorite brands, favorite dosa brand, favorite burger brand, favorite pizza brand, favorite dessert brand are all at that level of hygiene, cleanliness, because as you know, it's a big challenge in the Indian industry, uh, even pre-COVID. The other one would be amping up on convenience, right? uh, the whole mindset that wait for the customers to come, while there will be some customers coming, but reach out to the customer, right? And there are various examples of brands who have done that, and FMCG brands have done it very well. So reaching out to customers, reaching out to apartment complexes, right? Being a WhatsApp click away, so to say, right? And you all know how your nearest, kirana shop has opened WhatsApp, and is now accepting orders on WhatsApp and delivering. So that's a great lesson for brands, and for not only brands but also unorganized restaurants to kind of replicate, be closer to customers. I think the more they do these two things, and there will be, I'm sure, a few other things, they would kind of come out stronger, out of this painful situation.
Thank you.
So I think the say unorganized market is unorganized to the organized market if you put a say theory of relativity to it. Um, Most of the times, the best pricing on like say SKUs and all goes to the unorganized market. They have the best sources. They are the best people. There's a reason to it. They have a category first approach. They have a say industry first approach. Um, the customer first approach itself is a very big headwind that say that market will have to take up. Everything that Arvind has said kind of falls in that, right? Think about it. What's going to happen now? There are going to be three strong things. If I look at anything from customer first approach, let's sans the marketing budgets. If suppose I am a local player, I mean, firstly, the people are going to become more conscious of what they are eating. um, and it's important, like wherever the ingredients are sourced from and all, is spoken to them. A big company can't do it as well as these small companies can. So if they use it as a strength, you can automatically see how they are going to become local favorites all over again. At this point, they are local favorites because they are locally available, but soon they can become local favorites because they are locally available and transparent. I mean, the second part is like going strong on delivery only aspects. um, if my pani puri wala who uses the best premium quality, or even if it is at par quality, what do you call it, the chakna within the pani puri, if my pani puri wala is making good food and is delivering it to me and I don't need to practice social distancing, that guy has won my heart. He's coming and delivering it. It doesn't need to do it himself. It's about partnership beyond just back end partnership. It's also front end partnership, partnering with say delivery partners or with you guys and so on, and making a customer, like imbibing the customer first approach within them. So that's the first two things. First is that people will become more conscious of what they're eating. And the second thing is that people will not want to get out of home. And third is the trust, which is kind of accumulation of both these first two aspects. Trust is something which I would like to believe is already there with the local players. The only reason that it is going away is because when you don't get out of your house for 180 days, like Hitesh mentioned, you're out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
There was a time when like say every Sunday evening I would go out with my wife and have chat. It's not that I don't want to have chat. I've forgotten that there was a habit in my life. So it's about like constantly like reminding like local favorites, reminding their consumers why they used to believe that they are the favorites, and also like double down on things that maybe most of the organized sectors can't do. For most of the organized sectors which have scaled up, it's very difficult to add in intricacies which local favorites can do very easily, and that is something that is one of their strongest powers. So as you said, we believe in automation and SOPs. Their strength is that they don't need to believe in automation and SOPs, but like handcrafted customer first ideas will totally change the game for them. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think that is gonna, so like for example, there's this one very famous guy in Goregaon who serves corn on cob in 5 or 6 different sauces like salads. I'm sure in Goregaon people are still waiting for lockdown to complete so that they will go to him again. He has done his part of marketing. He has built his brand. He has built his trust. And that's because he has thought about the variety that people will still love when they go back to the like say not normal, but like this upgraded new normal life. So yeah, it is about transparency and bettering the product, and at the end of the day, making things convenient. If you club these three things, I think the unorganized market will become organized for the consumers, and communicate it. Obviously, you have to communicate these things.
Got it.
Quite interesting.
Yeah. I hope this answers your question, Bhagyashree.
Yes, thank you.
So probably next, Indrajit would like what question would you like to ask, and to whom, like someone specifically, or
So to both of them, I think I don't have a very serious question. Apologies in advance, but I would definitely like to ask, what was that one? So I am also a part of that group. Usually, marketers are anecdotal, no matter how much data is there. Like there is something that you wish to do because you have a feeling that you understand the market so well, and there's like this placebo or intuition that if you do a communication, as you said, funnel distribution, if you kind of look at a creative communication in a certain way, even if data is not suggesting, maybe people will be delighted because they didn't expect it. So for me, the fundamental say pivot, like or rather the major unlearning truth has been that you know empathy trumps everything, and like I've started looking at things differently, even in my day-to-day life. What has been that one rule that you believed in for the past say 5 6 years, which you had to completely let go? Like that is that one rule that you can never marry to again in your professional life.
Bhagyashree, want to go ahead?
I'm thinking.
I'm sure there have been many. I
Yeah,
would.
it's quite a interesting question. But I feel I remember reading this somewhere. I honestly don't remember where, but as marketeers, right, we have this constant fight, whether it's within our teams, with yourself, with our other teams. मुझे लगता है ये चलेगा. And just because you like it does not mean that your CEO should like it, your marketing head should like it, your executive should like it, my finance guy should like it, my customers should like it. I think that is the end rule of it all. You have to keep your personal egos aside. I honestly like really nice minimal creatives, but sometimes that does not work with the audience. Minimalism may not be everything for every kind of audience. Sometimes I feel like some color is very jatak and I don't like this visual, but well, people do. So I think that's been the biggest fight I've had to deal with, whether it's with myself, my team, across the 9 years that I've been working now, across segments, across companies. I think at the end of the day, if it is likable, shareable, I think the most with your audience, I think you're succeeding as a marketer. Trust me, the most recent fight that I had was to change Dineout's name. It's a big deal, right? You can't just change your brand name. Like I'm telling my team, like you know what? Let's not put the name Dineout. Let's say Dineout later. Stay home now. You can imagine how much what the thoughts that people must have gone through, right? But luckily for us, at Dineout, we experiment. We have the freedom to experiment, and that's exactly what we keep doing. Whether it's experimenting with our audience, whether it's experimenting with our own anecdotes, that's the only thing. Like, if you fail, you will know that it's not going to work. But well, if you hit it there, then it's jackpot.
Yeah.
So yeah, so keep
Totally.
your ego aside. I think that's a very big learning. Just keep your ego aside. Keep your own likes, dislikes aside. Keep the customer focus. That's how the communication should be crafted.
Be the water types.
Yes.
I think for me, one of the biggest, or fundamental change has been you tend to kind of have a blur between customer and consumer, generally speaking, right? Whereas they, as concepts, they are not necessarily the same. But in this, the good thing about this COVID situation, if one can call it that, is India is one of the countries that got affected a bit later. So I was reading up on a lot of stuff which affected some of the McDonald's countries in China or in Hong Kong, and what brands have done there, what McDonald's did there. And one thing stood out for me, which is treat customers at people first and consumers second, right? Now, for me, that statement says a lot, right? You are talking to a person with a lot of anxieties, a person who has more questions than answers. And the questions is a long list of questions. It's not tell me where to buy, is it affordable, etc., etc., right? So if you listen to people, right, and we are all people in our own ways with our own set of questions and anxieties today. So talk to them as people first, which means a tone of communication so important, has to be gentle and so on and so forth, and then as consumers second, right? I think that as a mantra, we have been living it in the past few months, and definitely for the next few months. I think it's very important that customers don't think brands as tone deaf and just going after the next transaction. Brands like this are here to stay, and we are all building long-term relationships for the second, and not just going after tomorrow's sale. So I think that is something that for me has kind of become a mantra, and the way I look at communication, compared to what I used to do before.
Nice.
Go ahead. So, like, Arvind, what's your question to Indrajit and Bhagyashree?
Right. So I think Bhagyashree answered the question I wanted to ask by when she talked about, Dineout as a word, how relevant it is in this times, and how do you manage brand communication, and put your best foot forward. I think she answered that well, the way you manage that communication, because upfront Dineout does mean a few things to customers, and you would want to engage with customers in a certain way, right? So I think that was very important. Indrajit, the question I would is all this hygiene, safety measures that customer would want. How do you handle it in a dark kitchen or a cloud kitchen, concept? How do you communicate, visually, whatever you guys are doing?
So the first and foremost thing we did, like the moment like the lockdown was established by Honorable Prime Minister, is we sent out like say a video for each of the brands. Like we went to the kitchens. Interestingly, there were a lot of things we were doing, because when you're handling like say around 5-6 brands in one kitchen, you anyway have to be very hygienic, right? Because each kitchen might be doing around say 500 odd orders a day, and per brand, so you have to be very hygienic, or rather very careful. I would use the word careful. Nothing can spill over to the other food and stuff like that. Everything is compact. It's like a tiny house kind of a design. You cannot have magnanimous kitchen areas for each of the brands, right? Because you're housing around 10-12 brands. So there was always a protocol followed. communicating, that was say never a criteria. But post lockdown, we actually did a small documentary and shared it with everybody. And after that, everything that we have done, for example, as I already mentioned, the temperatures which are tracked daily or logged daily are shared with the order itself as a bill. After that, we have done a lot of pilot projects, which are becoming, say, stronger projects now, wherein we have worked on a UV bag packaging, UV bag, and a UV bag and a sanitize UV safe packaging, where the entire process is shown, where like how your food is actually kept. Soon we will be actually working on live streaming, where we'll be actually for every order be able to say कि आपका खाना ये process से गया है, here are the snippets and everything. It's actually easier because it's a cloud kitchen, it's our own surface area or like real estate, however you want to design the space, it's completely in your hands. And these other, so like say the next 2 quarters, you will be seeing much more innovation. So like say live streaming will be definitely one of the things. UV bag is something that was received really well in its pilot phase in Delhi and Mumbai. So we will be taking that across the country. We also, just like you guys, we also launched Eat Your Express. It's a facility through which you can actually like order from home, and if the takeout place or rather the kitchen is nearby, it'll guide you to the place and you can walk and pick up your food. You can even see the kitchen that time when you're picking it up, and it'll notify you, and you have to scan your code. And like this box will open without anybody touching your food. The box will open and you can pick out your food. So it's a completely contactless pickup, you may say. We have also started having food trucks, where every society may the truck goes, and the society members are dropped a message, okay, hey, listen, these guys will be coming. They have slay coffee, sweet tooth, oven story pizza, whatever you want to order, just order. And when it's ready, you will be given a pay, you will be notified, and you can come down, pick up the food, and take it. So right from say digital experiences, which gives a sense of control to the user, to technical know-how, which gives the same sense of control to the user or the consumer. Now that you have said it, it's gonna hit me every time. The consumer and the people. So right to the point where like we can tell the people, hey, this has happened. We are taking care of all of that, and there are many more things that we are trying out because. As I said, the unorganized market should look at it as a boon that they can't automate or they cannot convert everything to SKUs or SOPs. I think dark kitchens is the next boon for us. I mean, if you're automating and like we already have Wokis, which is our automatic noodle maker or stir fryer in almost 50% of the kitchens where like Chinese is served. We and that is something we are very vocal about. We even share through messages and everything, through videos on social media, that hey, your food is being cooked by this this bot over here. So these small ways of communicating, and actually like in the back end doing these really innovative things, I think both are merit when you actually want to go to people and say, hey, we're trying. I won't say we are doing something different, we are trying a few different things. Some may work, some may not work, but let us know how it is. In fact, any kind of pilot we do, we drop like this huge ass one pager. Interestingly enough, almost 80% of the people respond to it, where we show a video that, hey, this is the process we are trying to do. Why don't you share with us whether this works for you, doesn't work for you, if we can make it better, and so on. Because as you said, frequency has reduced, right, for each order. And if you look at it in the whole run, the number of orders has reduced. The AOV has increased, or rather, the ticket size in one order has increased because maybe people are gathering and eating, or if एक बार खा रहा हूँ तो मैं साथ ही खा लेता हूँ and all that. So that gives us more time to focus on these things in the kitchen level also, or even in the channel or marketing level also, where we think about these ideas. Okay, when we will be again in full force, what are the few things we can do which are so uh, not communication, but in terms of action, showing empathy, that half of the battle is won in hindsight anyway. So that's the mantra. Really excited about few things turning up as of now. Really excited about each your website, wherein if you ever order, you can scan a code and you're taken to a website where you can actually see live temperatures and all the aspects of our safety protocols in one place. And people are really taking that well. In fact, soon we will be even showing the photo of the kitchen members, staff members in the kitchen, so that it's not the temperature that matters. It's like, this guy, like Ravi Gupta has actually like made, who has actually made your food, is right there in front of you. If you ever pass by, you can be like, hey, you made my pizza, thanks man. So that's the intent. That's the intent.
I think, Arvind, here I can agree with Indrajit also. Even at Dineout, right? We are, because customer trust and getting the audience's trust that, hey, this place is safe to eat out. Live kitchens, I think that's something that we are also interestingly implementing, and that will build the confidence and help people to make those decisions to go out and be secure that, I can see what's happening in the kitchen and I can see that it's safe and it's good for me.
I hope this answers your question.
Yes, thanks everyone.
Yeah. So I have a couple of questions, and then probably we could end with your closing thoughts. One question which came up when Bhagyashree was speaking about the Dine Out experiment of changing the name from Dine Out to Dine Out Later, or Stay Home and Dine Out Later. What is that one campaign you've seen in the past 6 months, and you've envied it to the extent that you were like you've been like that? This is one campaign that I should have been doing, but one of my competitors, or even not from the same industry, but some peer brand has done it and they've done it quite well. Whether it's about addressing safety, or it's about building trust or affinity, or it's about listening to the consumers and being nimble. Recently, I think McDonald's did something around Rasode Mein Kaun Tha, and they came up with fries which were there in the Rasoda. So stuff like that. What is that one campaign that you think that should have been done by you and your team, and you really love and envy?
I think I have two, not one. Two very important campaigns. One by Spotify, where they created this microsite and had these sounds of colleagues, right? How you miss working from office. They built a microsite which has all the sounds. You can just play it and pretend as if you are at an office, and you don't have that FOMO anymore, or you don't feel that I am just boxed in my house and working by myself. So I think that take on sound was very interesting, and this was something similar that was done by Ixigo also. The sounds that we miss, travel sounds.
Yeah.
I think that was something that we were really talking about and got us thinking that these are that's nice, right? Very good consumer insight and very, very relevant. So I think those are the two very similar concepts, but two campaigns that I felt I should have done it.
So Matter also did something like the sounds in a cafeteria, like office cafeteria or something, during I think initial days of lockdown. Something similar on those lines.
Right.
Arvind, your thoughts, your favorite campaigns?
There are many. I think the situation is such that various brands are trying new things, and each of those work is an inspiration in that sense. But as usual, brands like Nike kind of keep hitting it out of the park. So there was a recent campaign, I think the two sisters, Serena and Venus Williams. And so they are compete. They compete, and that's how everyone knows about them. They compete, but at the same time, when one of them wins, the other sister wins, right? So as usual, they took the high ground, and a very compelling brand language. So they have kept the brand language pretty consistent, right? They have been keeping that voice pretty consistent, and that's something that I thought is pretty inspirational for marketeers who are wondering what should I do next, right? So they are continuing to work on brand affinity, and yeah, So I would say that's an inspiration for marketers.
And Indrajit, your favorite campaign during this time? I mean,
I
some
think I'm not sure, but I think Arvind RP is talking about "You Can't Stop Us" campaign by Nike.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, I was blown away by that. I mean, I think not just lockdown. I think it's just be the past 5 years. It's one of the best ads I've seen. It really moved me at a very deep core level. Um, the thought it was trying to share, the way it was crafted, um, everything was just top notch. Another brand which has been very relevant. I mean, sometimes it's not a campaign, but just staying so truly relevant and entertaining, like garnering so much of customer love, would be Dunzo. They have been really, really, really sweet throughout this time. They have been, like celebrating other delivery partners, right from that to, including all brands in like this whole Finding Waldo kind of an environment. Uh, you know, I think these are the two brands which I really like. My heart goes out to them. Great job, guys.
Great, great. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think I'm done with my set of questions. Probably you could share your closing thoughts on, like, probably one priority which a marketer from your industry should be looking at this point in time. Like, what would be the top priority for a marketer in the F&B space, F&B and hospitality space? And yeah, we could start with Bhagyashree and then get
Sure.
into
Um, I feel as marketers, right, we're very scared to experiment. We're very like we some of them have very traditional thoughts. Some of them have very innovative thoughts, etc. I think for the F&B sector, right, which is one of the biggest ones hit because of COVID, I small restaurants, mid-sized restaurants, big restaurants, QSRs, cloud kitchens, the entire F&B industry as a whole, right, needs to be a little more open to experimenting. Let technology help you in reaching out to the audience as much as possible, because I get it, hospitality, and it's all about one-on-one interaction. It's all about how you serve your customer. But I also feel that the things that we've always been scared of. For example, we always thought that shopping was all about offline, and then there's e-commerce. Uh, Education now is digital, right? So I think every industry needs to sort of elevate themselves a little bit and be open to new concepts, new ideas. And I think that's something that one must definitely try and experiment.
sure. Indrajit,
I
your
think,
thoughts?
I think there was um, 90s was the time when we had to become friends with machines, like in every sense, be it home appliances, cars. It like that was a consumer industrialist age, if you may want to call it that way. This is the year when I have started realizing that internet has to become your friend. There's nothing closer to you than internet. No matter how much fear you have around it, I'm just not talking about social media or payments, but all of that and more than that. You have to think about uh, internet as your best friend now. Information wise, connection wise, like what we are doing right now. This is gonna be like the next few years are gonna be all your thoughts should be internet first. Digital first, yes, but even more internet first. That is one thing. Even say as a marketer, as a professional, as a kid, as a parent, internet should become your friend. There is no way you can stay away from it anymore, even 10%. And the other thing is, I guess we are entering a time when it will be short-lived. It won't be the forever, but for as long as it is, I think this is the time where at least we get to track feelings and not revenue for a while. And it's going to be a great time around that. Like very rarely one can say, even in a board meeting, that output for the next few months. It's gonna be feelings, because if you're tracking feelings right, you will hit it right with the revenue. So these are the two aspects which I'm really looking forward to personally also, like how these unfold when you stop tracking feelings, and when I also, I believe I'm a digital first person, but imbibing to the internet will be a very new task for me also. So yeah, these two things.
And Arvind, what do you think should be the top priority at this point in time?
So, just after the lockdown hit, Hitesh, there was as usual, is WhatsApp, right? A lot of it is junk, but there was one joke, which is quite serious actually, which I'm sure all of us have got on their WhatsApp, which is that COVID has been able to do the digital transformation of the company where no one else was able to do, right? And that's actually true. While we all had a quiet chuckle about it, it's true. What we are seeing is a big disruption, and we should not. The mentality in the industry should not be okay. We'll wait for it to pass and we'll resume from where we left off. I think that could be a big mistake, right? So even if the government allows 100% opening of the restaurant in terms of capacity, it doesn't mean that business is back, right? So the whole approach has to be that this is a big disruption. We should embrace the disruption, which means that we have to reimagine the business all over again, right? And learn from businesses other countries what they have done, and there are many businesses even in India who have been able to come back faster. Learn from them, learn from across categories. There's absolutely nothing wrong in that, but you have to reimagine the business from a customer lens, which would probably mean a digital transformation of your business from end to end, right? So that I think is very important. Brands businesses who treat this as a disruption and kind of recast the way they do stuff normally, I think will emerge stronger out of this crisis.
That's a great thought. So thank you guys. Thanks a lot for sparing our time for this. Like the panelists today spoke about, like I would also just like to summarize what they said right now. Like your top priority at this point should be to reimagine your business. Should be to, like, how can you pivot, or what is it that you can change to sort of like come out stronger from this setback that all businesses have received. At the same time, I really loved Indrajit's thought on tracking feelings and not just tracking ROI. I don't think like it can be like an ultimate replacement, but I'm quite sure that we should start tracking feelings and ROI at the same time. Probably that is one thing which a lot of us would want to learn from. And like Bhagyashree said, I think it's time that we experiment and we try to step into the shoes of the consumer and start looking at things from their end rather than just thinking what we as a brand would want to do. So thank you guys. Thanks a lot for this panel. I'm sure a lot of people had good takeaways from this. We have tons of questions here. I couldn't ask you all of them, but probably we'll collate some of them and share it with you guys, and you could answer them at your convenience. Thank you. Thanks a
Sure.
lot. Have a
Thank you,
great
guys.
week ahead.
This was a
And
pleasure. This was really fun. Thanks,
Yes.
Hitesh, for making this
Thanks a lot.
happen.
Brilliant
what?
speaking with
Yeah,
all of
thanks,
you guys.
Hitesh.
Yeah, it was brilliant talking to you guys,
Yeah.
Bhagyashree and
Same here,
okay.
Indrajit,
Yeah,
Arvind.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hitesh, for
thank
bringing us
you.
together. Bye bye.
Thank you, Hitesh.
Take care.
Bhagesh.